Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my book reading series. I'm going to read a book called The Toyota Way. This is a story of a company which has become one of the most respected brand in the world, starting basically from nowhere, just by following great management principles and practices. You might think that what is in it for me that I need to know about an automobile company? Well, Toyota is an organization, most successful organization in the world, and their success story and the principles are relevant and equally important in any type of industry where you might be working. Therefore, this learning, the listen and listening to this could be just interesting for you. The name of the book is The Toyota Way by Dr. Jeffrey Keliker, a fascinating story about one of the role model companies that I consider as a role model. Let's begin. Dr. Liker is a professor of industrial engineering in University of Michigan, USA. He is a super expert and think tank on lean and lean management system. He did extensive research on this subject and studied the Toyota production system thoroughly. So his book, The Toyota Way, is on lean management system, which was conceptualized by Taichi Ono, one of the employee of Toyota company. Now, this Toyota story is not a story of an automobile company alone. And you might think, why do I know what Toyota did as an automotive company? This book is more of a philosophy, the business principles of an organization that is universal. There's a wonderful takeaway for all of us, whatever business we are in, whatever profession we are in, whatever job we are doing, whatever type of industries we might be working in. I strongly recommend that you read the book, The Toyota Way by Dr. Jeffrey K. Liker. Let's begin. The Toyota Way is one of the finest books written which does not remain limited to Toyota. The principles can be applied into any organization. It can be used in your own business, in our own business. The more I read the book, more I feel like reading it once again. And this never ends. So I never could complete the book to my satisfaction. Because next time I read, I find some new information that, hey, I should have thought it like this. So I strongly recommend you read this book. This is one of the few books I strongly recommend you to read, which will enhance your ability to think and lead outstanding organization. It's not the MBA that you get is very important or the degree from the university you get. This is real experience being shared by someone who knows and studied about the organization thoroughly and what made Toyota one of the finest organizations in the world, and the success story can be replicated in your and my organization is worth listening. Let's see what are the principles of Toyota. And these are at the heart of foundation of the Toyota production system called TPS. And by the way, Toyota's Taichi Ono is the brilliant manager or the leader who has conceptualized lean. And I have to give a salute to him. And let's have our Ono moment for our own life. The 14 Toyota Way principles. Long-term philosophy. We should think long-term rather than short-term. Principle number 1. Base your management decision on a long-term philosophy, even at the expense of short-term financial goals. The highlight is think beyond, think long-term. Do not be bothered about immediate short-term gains. At this point of time, you may take a decision which costs you more time and cost, but still it is what look for long-term vision. And that's what makes an organization living hundreds of years and create legacy in the world. Principle number 2, create continuous process flow to bring problems to the surface. Sometimes the problems are then the system we cannot see. If we cannot see, we cannot act on them to correct them. So what is important is delighting the problems. Bring it to surface. Let's talk about the problem. If you do not talk about the problem, you really don't know where you stand as of now. Therefore, it's really very important that look at the problems right now. Principle number 3, use pool systems to avoid overproduction. Let me explain this little bit. Pull means you are actually pulling the production system. It's a concept that do not produce and stack the material. Why? They say overproduction is one type of waste. Toyota has got 7 types of waste they have identified. We'll talk about them. One is overproduction. Now, why overproduction is a waste? Let me give an example. When I booked my Land Cruiser, I live in Kuwait and I went to Al Sayed Toyota. They are the agent of Toyota in Kuwait. So it's a wonderful showroom. It's a top class place to visit even. And I come from automobile industry, so the car always fascinates me. And looking at the car, I come from a family, we had a transportation as our family business. So I'm quite fascinated about automotive industry and the vehicles in the car and bikes, scooters and stuff like that. So I went there. They said, what is the type and specification of the car that you are looking for? So, the VX is the model I wanted, which is 8-cylinder, a 4,500cc engine. I think it is 4,500cc engine. Then, black color. Now, I call it Black Beauty. It's one of the most beautiful car that I love. So the salesperson told her, you have to wait for 2 months because we will place an order. Our slot for black car will come at that point of time. Are you okay with this? We have got other models which you might get earlier. For example, red or white or beige or silver gray, metallic or whatever color that you want. Within approximately 1 month time, you can get, but for black, you have to wait at least for 2 months. But we'll try to give it before 2 months. I said, I know that Toyota produces products, their cars, based on a philosophy called pull system. They said, how do you know this? I said, yes, I read a book, The Toyota Way, which I'm reading now by Dr. Jeffrey Keliker. They said, yes, we collect the orders and every week or every day we actually transmit our orders once it is booked. So Toyota gets this information from their worldwide dealers network, and when they find a reasonable minimum economic number of the car to be produced is achieved, they program or plan the production for this black car. Because they cannot change the painting system every alternate day. So whenever there is a need for a specific car, sufficient orders are generated, they will manufacture and deliver it within the time frame that the customer wanted. And I have already booked the car, paying some amount of money. Point I'm saying is the benefit of this. See, they follow just-in-time concept, JIT. Now, just-in-time is you produce a car just when a customer needs. You buy optimum level of items that is just enough for producing this. So you are not storing more material, you are not producing more, and you are actually meeting the demand of the supplier. As if supplier is pulling and you are pushing this material in the same speed that the customer is pulling. The benefit is your vehicle will never stop in the showroom, and your money is circulating in a fastest cycle time. Now just imagine they produced 10 white vehicles and 100 red and 5 beige color or whatever, and you are looking for the black only and all the vehicles with their money blocked in terms of material cost, production and all this, and waiting for the customer to buy so that they can sell and get their money back. But they've already invested in terms of making it, in terms of spare parts and whatever other costs are involved. Now just imagine once you make an order, right, and they make it to supply in accordance with your demand, it's like a pool system. So nothing really is blocked at any point of time. The inventory comes to an absolutely controlled level, manageable level, that is economical, and the company is now ready to deliver you on time. In fact, the same principles were used by many other companies. Dell, for example. Dell, you were placing the order for Dell, the computer company, Dell Computer Company, Michael Dell. Their principles were very similar to this. Just imagine when they started, it was internet-based sales mainly. So you place an order for a particular model. The moment your order is placed, now the production starts, spare parts or parts procurement starts, the supply will start, and they will assemble and give it to you on the promised delivery date and time. So what they did actually is they have gone ahead, one step ahead. They take the money for full amount of money. They are taking before even production, so they can pay to their suppliers on time, and they are making it to your requirement once they got the full amount of money payment. So nothing is blocked. On the other hand, just imagine Ford was using mass production. Thousands of cars are stacked in the delivery process, in the factory, and the huge amount of material is stacked up in their store. There was a massive size company they have grown to. And there is a huge amount of inventory hidden. The money is there, but you can't see them. So they are not cash rich. They have got huge amount of money, true, but this money is in the form of the vehicle that will be sold, that is under, work in progress and so on and so forth. But Toyota became the cash rich company because they have actually rolled over the product at the shortest possible time based on the pool system. And this is the reason a company which was taught by GMC and your American companies how to make cars had developed a system which we are talking about now is Toyota Production System, TPS, and that they have given back to General Motors as a return gift to those who taught them how to make cars. So you have to get this learning. That's so important. I again recommend that you read this book. Level out workload. They call it Heijunka. Work like a tortoise, not hare. You remember our hare and tortoise stories. Small, when we are young boys and girls, our grandmothers and mothers used to tell us, work like a tortoise, slow but steady wins the race. Do not run like the hare, and you see that, oh, my competitor is much behind me, so let us take a nap, short nap. By the time you got up, the person is on the victory stand, your competitor is on the victory stand. So, point here is, do not burden the production line in such a way that one place you are producing so much, in another place they have got lesser capacity. So there is uneven level of flow. So level out the production flow so that everything moves like a lamellar flow. For example, you produce, say, 100 engine blocks or 200 engine blocks will be made today. And this 200 engine blocks will be used in 200 new cars. And these 200 new cars will be delivered tomorrow. And these 200 new cars will be delivered to the customer after 1 month in the state of Kuwait, which will be sent from Japan plant of Toyota. So this is what is called work leveling, right from the concept. And also they can buy the material from their supplier that I need what material that is for 200 engine components. So this is work leveling. And by doing that, what is the greatest advantage is you can bring down the level of inventory to an absolutely optimum level. Here I give an example which is from another industry. I was auditing them in 2002. So I found there's a huge stock of plates in that company. Steel plates, they're a fabrication company. So I was asking, what is your buffer stock of plates that you keep always in stock? They said approximately 6 to 7 months. 6 to 7 months of production material steel to keep in the stock is not only blocking their precious place, which is so difficult to get, also you need to protect them. Also, you are limiting your production space, number one. And 7 or 8 months of material, just imagine if steel plates are going to cost, say, for example, $700 per metric ton. Could be plus minus whatever. I'm just giving an example. It's 1,000. I'll give an example for ease of calculation. And they make, say, 5,000 metric ton every month production capacity. So 5,000 into 1,000 into 7 months is these many millions of dollars are blocked at every month, every 6 months. This will never come down. This amount of money will always be there in terms of inventory. So I was asking, why do you keep such huge amount in your stock? Why don't you look at, or is there any way that you can look at the optimization of this? Because I read the book. And not only that, in our quality management, we would always like to add value. When we go as an auditor, we are not going to find whether they are doing things right or this is what they said they are doing it or not and then give a certificate. That's not quality management system all about. You are going to see a system in a holistic view, find improvement opportunities and add some value to their process. That's what you are expected to deliver. So I was asking, why do you keep it? Imagine that was around 2002, 3 or 4, I think, around that time. Now, they said in our region, there is a lot of geopolitical uncertainty. Now, we have got a huge amount of production capacity and large number of people are working. We have also got huge number of commitment, huge number of projects to execute with commitments to our customer. Now, sometime it is possible due to some geopolitical disturbance, the travel route gets blocked, the sea route gets blocked. There is some disturbance on the movement of the material. So in that case, we'll be in serious trouble to cope up with our promised delivery. This was a big company, so they can store this material. Now, when recently last audit, I was talking to their quality manager and procurement manager and also their director of production. I said, what is your buffer stock level now? He said, it's around 30 days at the most and maximum, most of the cases, it is around 15 days. Wow, fantastic. So I was telling that, in 2004, when I came for 2003 or 4, when I came for your audit first, your buffer stock level was around 7 months. So yeah, we had a terrible time. We can't imagine now that we'll have 7 months stock. So many millions of dollars are stuck in the form of material inventory. So you were auditing our company for quite long, and this general manager was, he was not the general manager at the time when I started auditing them. I've seen the second general manager in the same company. So he was telling, so our history, quite a bit. I said, yes, I'm a witness of the success story and growth of your organization and the projectile. It's quite amazing to see that from one company, and you are now having 5 countries operation and one of the giant most company in the region. So he says, you know what? With a 45 days lead time ordering period and keeping the material maximum for 30 days inventory, which is most likely 15 days. So every 15 days, we actually keep getting our plates and other material, the buyout items, so that our production never suffers. And I've got 2 suppliers or 3 suppliers for most of them, and they are sufficiently busy and happy to deal with us. We don't want 10 different suppliers because quality control becomes a problem for us. Assuring the quality of our suppliers' performance is a big challenge because we are a huge company, have got huge number of suppliers. So to keep 2 or 3 suppliers, or at the most 4, is quite strategic, and there is a healthy competition between them, and we can guide them through even for improvement. We in fact include them in our excellence programs, where organizational excellence program, when we include them even, and they know we got to supply them within this period without delay, and we have this order. All right. So you can keep producing and you forge a long-term relationship, which is one of the principle, the 7th principle of quality management system is relationship management. So see where things are coming and how they're connected. ISO is one of the fantastic thing, the most exciting thing that I discuss, and I find things from Japanese stories, even Toyota way, what Toyota is doing, those kind of principles are part of quality management systems principles today in different forms. So coming back to that story of that organization, what really happened with the amount of money they saved only from the inventory, reduction in the inventory, they could liberate the space where 2 or 3 new plants have come, new shades have come. So they have introduced new capacity to build, their insulated panels, blasting and painting yard, and also huge amount of storage space they have got for the finished product, which were earlier occupied by the raw material. So it's a whole new organization. Now, with this amount of money saved, they could expand to other 4 countries where the size of each one of their operation is the same massive size that I have audited, and many of this facility now we are auditing as an organization because they're integrating the same principles and the processes and the systems across the organizations. So I kept visiting different offices, for example, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and Ras Al Khaimah and stuff like that. So the leveling of job is so fundamentally important, and you can save a lot of cost, and that is to the advantage of the company. All right. So have a wonderful, steady flow throughout the organization, kind of a lamellar flow. You don't create a turbulence. In one place it is too fast and another place is not moving out. By the way, I got a very interesting example to share here now. It was an incident in China. One company, it's a huge production capacity. So when I've gone there, I found they do not do hydro test there. So I was finding quite strange. Why don't you do hydro test? They say hydro test in Chinese standard is not required for 100%. So they may require 10% at the most, because they do other tests to make sure that there is no flaw. And they're quite sure of the quality of this material. And 10% random sample is hydro tested. This is in accordance with the Chinese standard. But this does not meet requirements for the companies, oil companies in Middle East or in Europe or US. So what they do, They have offloaded hydro test to completely another company whose only job is doing hydro test for that organization. And they've invested hugely in the hydro test. It's a very adjacent company. So now this company is actually like a group or branch company of that parent group, and their only job is hydro test. So now once the material goes there, they do the hydro test, comes back there. So because these particular mill making pipes, they've increased their billet size and length so that they make 3 double random pipes at a time in one stroke. So in other words, they reduce the wastage from the cropping the ends, and they make 3 pipes double random, so around 36-meter pipes in as a one unit. The scrap coming from the cropping the ends is done only one time. But if it was one double random, this would have been from the both ends, so they lose a lot of production capacity and a lot of time in waste. So they have reduced the wastage significantly by increasing in technology. Now, with the increase in pipe production capacity, their capacity to perform hydro test has fallen short. So there will be like a turbulence. So in one place, they are producing huge number of pipes, but without hydro test, they cannot go back. They cannot go to the next step. So there is an uneven leveling of production capacity. So this is how it is important that you level this work out. Principle number 5, build a culture of stopping to fix problems to get quality right the first time. I was working in Hindustan Motors. In 1986, I joined Hindustan Motors as a quality assurance and reliability engineer. I do remember we had a brilliant manager, B.K. Satapathy was our quality controller. I salute this man. He was my first boss. And then we had other two, Mr. Gorg, Mr. O.P. Dua. They were some of my first company colleagues. They have so much of contribution in my life. And Sukomol Banerjee and Mr. Mitra, A&Rs, they were working on the ground level. So we had sometimes fight with them. Why I'm saying that they were like my early days memory in the first job that I have done. It was so much fascinating because it was like a dream coming true. I played with the pinions and the gearbox when I was a small young kid. Because we had transport business, so our family business drivers used to, show me. I was to play with the pinion and the gearbox. So I've seen them when I was a small boy. And so automotive components are in my brain, basically. So what I'm trying to say here is when I have problem, when we find there's some problem coming in the continuous production line, I was in the final view and car line and testing. So in case of any problem, Mr. Dua used to say, Ray, you can go and stop the conveyor. Stop the conveyor because the production has to stop there. If there is a stoppage, everything stops. So they know there is somewhere some problem. So the problem becomes daylighted. Hey, there is some problem somewhere, and everyone now is alerted that some problem is there. You have to fix it quickly. So that kind of an attitude, that kind of an example is so good for us to understand. So one of the things that what we were doing is to stop the production line to make sure the problem is fixed, because by stopping, you are stopping the entire production line and everybody is now alerted. So what they do is they will all jump into the problem to solve it quickly, and then the production starts. So now by doing this, what the company was achieving is avoiding rework and repair and rejection and repetitive work, the amount of cost. You remember the iceberg that we talked about, the huge amount of hidden time and cost is lost. And that's what is avoided by stopping the production line instantly. So one of the principle of Toyota is build a culture of stopping to fix problems to get quality right for the first time. So no repair, no rework, no rejection, and go ahead in such a way that the production is moving very smooth. So few minutes of stoppage is a great idea to do that. And that's what is the principle we talked about. So principle number 6. Toyota principle number 6 says, standardized tasks are the foundation for continuous improvement and employee empowerment. Very interesting principle. In clause number 10 in ISO 9001 2015, we are talking about improvement. And who will do improvement? Basically people. Now people are covered in clause number 7.2 as a competence. So clause number 7, it starts with people and also competence of people. So now these two things are very much linked, interlinked. So you will find the Toyota principles, which were long ago and is now reflected in ISO 9001 2015 standard. So now it says, use stable, repeatable methods everywhere to maintain the predictability, regular timing, and regular output of your processes. It is the foundation for flow and pull. Very interesting. What we are talking about is the process. Now, the processes are producing results. If the processes are standardized, output also is going to be standardized. Now, if there is a process which is standardized but not producing the right quality, still it's okay because you know this is what everybody is doing and that is not taking us anywhere. So something has to be done. Now, if I do things in a way, then somebody else is doing in a completely different way, and the third person is doing the job in another different way. So which one is working, where is the problem will be very difficult to find. So for continuous improvement or continual improvement, standardized processes are so fundamentally important. It does not mean that you cannot improve. Once you improve, that becomes a standard. So the standardization of the process is not limiting the creativity of the persons or your creativity, that you cannot think beyond. You can always, but standardize the work so that the results will be predictable. There'll be repeated results. Repeatability means you can produce similar results again and again. This is called repeatability. So a person making coffee every time in the same way, the taste is going to be the same because their processes are same. Their processes has been standardized. Now, if the processes are not standardized, the coffee made by the same person will taste different. So there is no repeatability. Repeatability is the similar kind of behavior or attributes of a product, so that where there is repeated kind of a result, acceptable, mediocre, great, very great, every time they look and feel the same. Every time their performance is same. So the next principle is use visual controls so no problems are hidden. It is delighting the problem. Very interesting simile I can draw from here. Few years ago, I was in a very big oil company. There are a lot of buried pipings, and suddenly there is a failure. So buried facility is quite difficult to monitor. You need under the soil. They're under the soil. They're buried. So how they are behaving, how the corrosion is affecting their integrity and their serviceability, you really don't know. So their project was daylighting project. So raise all the piping system to the surface instead of keeping them under the ground. By doing so, You are actually delighting the problem. You are bringing the problems, making the problems in front of your eyes. So you know that is a sign of corrosion and you have to improve it. You have to do something to prevent it. So visual indicators help people to determine immediately whether they are in standard condition or deviating from it. So if you are deviating, you should be able to know this. Very interesting and simple. Nothing very out of the world thoughts, but these are the principles. So make the problems visible. Talk about it. Sometimes the problem can be within the relationship. Unless you talk about it, this is not brought to the surface. So you have got some grievance, for example, with your partner, and your partner has got some grievance with you, and you're not talking about it. So the problem is not taken to the surface. Principle number 8, use only reliable, thoroughly tested technology that serves your people and the processes. So the technology that is proven, that is reliable, and that is tested. So unless a process is tested and it is not reliable, it is of no use to any organization. This is quite obvious. So use reliable technology. That's quite important. Here I can give you an example. Bhopal gas tragedy that happened in 1984, killing 10,000 people instantly, and millions of people are suffering still after 3 decades almost. Imagine how many years it has gone. So the technology was outdated. They were using phosgene gas and methyl isocyanate, and their reaction in the sequence to produce the final product, which is a pesticide called carbaryl, was product of reaction by two dangerous gas, quite lethal. It is kind of a chemical factory just in operation in the vicinity, thickly populated by people. One single failure costed these many people's life. And importantly, the company which wanted to save some money by saving cost for maintenance and deployment of people wiped out of the business. The company got closed. It was sold to Dow Chemicals, Union Carbide. Just imagine if the technology they would have improved, made it more robust and reliable, this would not have happened. Bayer, on the other side, is using the same product but with a slightly different and safer technology, and that's why they are still in the business. So that's important aspect of it to consider. Principle 9, it says, grow leaders who thoroughly understand the work, live the philosophy, and teach it to others. What a fascinating idea. Now, sometime in the earlier style of management is the workers are going to follow and the managers are going to dictate. So a bureaucratic regime where the highly knowledgeable, empowered managers will dictate terms and the processes how the organization's people, the workers must perform. So workers were only to follow the instructions given by the top leaders, by the leadership, by their immediate managers or line supervisors. So in the process, the creativity from them and their voice got lost. Principle in ISO 9001 standard, engagement of people, is what it is talking about here. So you can imagine the root of quality management principle is going back to companies like Toyota and the work of the Japanese scientists and engineers and the stories in Japan. So grow leaders who thoroughly understand the work. So it's leaders' job is not to create followers. Leaders' job is to create more leaders. There is a book called The Leader Who Had No Title by Robin Sharma. Fascinating book. I strongly recommend that you read this book. It is all about leadership. It says that imposed leadership that comes with some kind of authority and position and designation goes away when the position goes off. Barack Obama, for example, was a big, powerful person when he was the president. 2 terms. Now he is, of course, quite an influential person, but he does not have the authority to influence America and make decisions the way he had when he was the president of US. So the leadership, which is coming with some kind of authority and positions, goes away when those positions are off. But a leadership which is lead without a title, it's a wonderful concept Ravin Sharma shared in his book called The Leader Who Had No Title. Amazing story of four people, how they can become exceptionally great leader in their own work. One was the room service person who cleans the room, Anna, the lady who was a role model, the room cleaner who used to take care of and making the room, upkeeping the rooms. And there was another guy who was basically measure things like that. So you can actually become a leader in your own rights. So that's what it talks about. Create leaders. Now, what is leadership all about? Giving the hand, leading by example, running the little bit of extra miles to be radically different and be used to others, help others, find a solution, demonstrate that initiative that others are possibly not doing. That's what is called leadership. So, what is important, what Toyota really tries to develop in its people is that leadership at every level. So, at every level, there's a corporate leader, there's a functional leader. At every level, you have got leaders. Actually, when I was working initially with Quality Circle, which was conceptualized by Kaoru Ishikawa, from Japan, he was talking about quality circle. In each quality circle, you have got a leader, and each members are also going to act as a leader. In ISO 9001 lead auditor course that we are offering, in that one of the requirement is that every participant must work together in groups or in teams. Philosophy. ISO 9000 clause number 7, support. It starts with people. People is the real resource of any organization. It is not the machinery or the equipment. Every organization has got great resources, great machinery, equipment, but they still collapse. What makes a great organization within the organization to become a great organization. But the point here is become a learning organization. Share the knowledge. Few minutes before I was talking to some of my colleagues that we must share something which is good, which is working fine, which is result oriented, so that that becomes best practices everywhere within the organization. So if we are not learning, we are actually going behind. There is saying more learned people should earn more as well. Learn more to earn more. I'm not saying earn more means in the sense of materialistic achievements. A more learned person will certainly can contribute and get a mentor. The whole idea about. So become a learning organization. Share the knowledge. Develop people. Yesterday I was talking to a company, one of our customer. I was talking, sir, give me an opportunity